Revelation 21. The new heaven and new earth, and the city coming down. Note on the chapter. Chapter 21 opens onto something the book has been moving toward from the first vision. The judgments are finished, the old order has passed, and what remains is shown not as a place reached, but as a city descending. Two things deserve to be named before the rendering. First, the chapter divides cleanly, the new heaven and new earth with the announcement from the throne, then the angelic showing of the city in detail. Second, this is the seam where readers part company. Much of what comes earlier in the book has its first reference in the events of the first century. Here, even those who read most of the book as fulfilled tend to hear the language of a consummation still to come. The rendering does not settle that question. It keeps to what the Greek says and leaves the placing of it to the reader. A new heaven and a new earth. Verses 1 to 2. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. The first heaven and the first earth had gone, and the sea was no longer there. The word for new here is kainos, which speaks of newness in kind rather than newness in time. It is not that another world of the same sort has been manufactured to replace a worn one. It is that the thing itself has been made new in its character. The sea, in the language of this book, has stood for the restless deep out of which the beast rose and the place of separation and chaos. That it is no longer there is the point. The old way of things is gone. And I saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, made ready as a bride adorned for her husband. The city does not rise from the earth by human building. It descends, given rather than achieved. And the image set on it at once is not stone, but a bride. What follows in the chapter will be measured and described in detail. Yet the first thing said of the city is that it is dressed for a wedding. The dwelling of God with men. Verses 3 to 4. And I heard a great voice out of the throne saying, Look, the dwelling of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they will be his peoples. And God himself will be with them and be their God. The word rendered dwelling is skene, a tent, the same root that stands behind the tabernacle in which God met Israel in the wilderness, and behind the saying in the gospel that the word eskenosen pitched his tent among us. The announcement is that the arrangement the tabernacle and temple pointed toward has arrived in full. Not a building where God is approached at a distance, but God dwelling with his people directly. The plural, peoples, is worth keeping. The promise once spoken to one nation is now spoken over many. And he will wipe away every tear from their eyes. And death will be no more, nor mourning, nor crying, nor pain will be any longer, because the first things have passed away. The list moves from the deepest loss outward. Death itself first, then the grief that follows it, then the smaller daily ache of pain. Each is named, and then placed under the same verdict, no more. The reason given is not that these things have been hidden or endured, but that the order they belonged to is gone. Behold, I make all things new. Verses 5 to 8. And the one seated on the throne said, Look, I am making all things new. This is one of the few places in the book where the one on the throne speaks directly. The verb is present in force, not I will make at some later point, but I am making the work in hand. And he said, Write, because these words are faithful and true. John is told to set them down precisely because they are trustworthy. The command to write is itself a guarantee. And he said to me, They have come to pass. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. He names himself by the first and last letters of the alphabet, a way of saying the whole and everything between. the one who stands at the origin and at the goal. To the thirsty I will give freely from the spring of the water of life. The gift is offered without price. The only qualification named is wanting it. The one who conquers will inherit these things, and I will be his God, and he will be my son. The promise made to each of the 7 assemblies at the opening of the book, to the one who conquers, is gathered here into a single inheritance. Then the other side is named plainly. But as for the cowardly and unbelieving and detestable and murderers, and the sexually immoral and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars, their portion is in the lake that burns with fire and sulfur, which is the second death. The list begins strikingly with cowardice and unbelief, the failure to hold fast before it reaches the grosser sins. The word for sorcerers is pharmakoi, those who work by drugs and spells. The contrast is total. A free gift of living water on the one hand, a portion in the second death on the other. The bride, the wife of the Lamb, verses 9 to 10. And one of the 7 angels, who had the 7 bowls full of the 7 last plagues, came and spoke with me, saying, "Come, I will show you the bride, the wife of the Lamb." The offer deliberately echoes an earlier scene. The same kind of angel once said, "Come, I will show you the judgment of the great prostitute." Now the same words introduce the opposite, the bride. The 2 cities are set against each other, the one that sold herself and the one made ready for her husband. And he carried me away in spirit to a great and high mountain and showed me the holy city Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God. As John was carried into the wilderness to see the prostitute, he is carried to a mountain to see the bride. And what he is shown, having been told he would see a bride, is a city. The book holds the 2 images together without strain. The people of God are at once the wife of the Lamb and the place where God dwells. The glory, the wall, and the gates, verses 11 to 14. It had the glory of God, its radiance like a most precious stone, like a jasper, clear as crystal. The city shines, and the light is not its own. It is the glory of God resting on it. It had a great and high wall, with 12 gates, and at the gates 12 angels and names written on them, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the sons of Israel. 3 gates faced each direction, 3 on the east, 3 on the north, 3 on the south, 3 on the west. The city opens on every side. There is no direction from which one cannot enter. And the wall of the city had 12 foundations, and on them 12 names, the names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. The 2 12s are set together in the structure of the city itself, the tribes on the gates and the apostles on the foundations. The whole people of God, under the Old Covenant and the New, is built into one city. Neither is left outside it. The measuring of the city, verses 15 to 17. And the one who spoke with me had a golden measuring rod to measure the city and its gates and its wall. The city is measured as the temple was measured earlier in the book. What is measured is what is claimed and kept. And the city lies 4 square, its length the same as its breadth. He measured the city with the rod, 12,000 stadia. Its length and breadth and height are equal. The city is a perfect cube. There is one other place in the Scriptures where a space is a perfect cube, the inner sanctuary of the temple, the Holy of Holies, where God's presence dwelt. The shape says what the voice from the throne has already said. The whole city is the place of God's dwelling. And he measured its wall, 144 cubits, by a man's measure, which is an angel's. The number is 12 times 12. the same 12 that runs through the gates and the foundations. The note that a man's measure is the angels keeps the measuring intelligible to human reckoning, even as it is an angel who holds the rod. Gold and jeweled foundations, verses 18 to 21. And the material of its wall was jasper, and the city was pure gold, like clear glass. The gold is so pure it is transparent. Gold one can see through, an image that holds richness and clarity together rather than choosing between them. The foundations of the city's wall were adorned with every kind of precious stone. There follows a list of 12 stones: jasper, sapphire, chalcedony, emerald, sardonyx, sardius, chrysolite, beryl, topaz, chrysoprase, jacinth, amethyst, recalling the stones set in the breastpiece of the high priest, on which the names of the tribes were engraved. And the 12 gates were 12 pearls. Each one of the gates was made from a single pearl. And the street of the city was pure gold, like transparent glass. Each gate is one whole pearl, and the street underfoot is the same transparent gold as the city. What would be most precious anywhere else is here the paving. No temple, no sun, no night. Verses 22 to 27. And I saw no temple in it, for the Lord God Almighty is its temple, and the Lamb. This is the turn the whole book has prepared. In a city shaped like the Holy of Holies, there is no separate sanctuary, because the separation the temple maintained is gone. God and the Lamb are themselves the temple. And the city has no need of the sun or the moon to shine on it, for the glory of God gave it light, and its lamp is the Lamb. And the nations will walk by its light, and the kings of the earth bring their glory into it. And its gates will never be shut by day, and there will be no night there. The gate stays open because there is no enemy to shut it against, and no night to shut it for. The open gate is not a guarded entrance, but a standing welcome. They will bring the glory and the honor of the nations into it. What the nations once spent on the great city that fell is now brought, purified, into the city that stands. And nothing unclean will ever enter it, nor anyone who practices abomination or falsehood, but only those written in the Lamb's book of life. The city is open on every side and never shut, and yet nothing defiling passes in. The openness does not mean there is no boundary, but that the boundary is no longer a wall. The single book named at the judgment is named again here, and entry depends on being written in it. The Greek sets the two against each other plainly. The city stands open to all the earth, and what cannot enter is not kept out by walls, but excluded by what it is. On the chapter as a whole. The chapter answers the temple. From the early chapters, the book has measured a sanctuary, mourned its defilement, and watched a great city fall. Here, a city comes down whose shape is the inner sanctuary itself, and which needs no temple within it, because God dwells in it without mediation. Whether the reader places this at the end of all things, or hears in it the character of the new covenant order already inaugurated, the language itself is consistent. The old order has passed, the dwelling of God is with men, and the things that belonged to the first order, death and grief and the dividing sea, are simply no longer there.